Hi, I'm Dr. Willy Dayan, and I'm coming to you from YourOrthoCoach.com with a quick tip video about how to set up interarch elastics with aligners for superior results. This is a small sample of what we're going to be talking about in much more detail on our webinar July 10th, 2018 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you, many of you, online at that time so that we can take up these cases in much greater detail. On that day, we're going to be talking about an agenda full of information about interarch elastics in general in orthodontics and how they work. Do they work? Do we really know how they work? We're going to talk about what we see in a ClinCheck, such as sequential distalization or continuous movements or bite jumps. How does that work? What is the difference? When will I use one over the other? We'll talk about interarch elastics in open bite cases and interarch elastics in deep bite cases and crossbite elastics. Notice I don't have the separation of interarch elastics in class 2 or class 3 cases. I take this as a given that in orthodontics we're often using these elastics this way, but it's how we do them different in open bite and deep bite cases that is of greatest interest to me in aligners. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this quick tip video, just to give you a sample of what we'll be covering in much greater detail on July 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. When I'm doing class 2 elastics for deep bite cases, I specifically set them up as a triangle, often from a hook on the upper 3 to the 7, under the 6, and back to the 3. This setup of elastics is especially good for deep bite cases. It puts an extrusive force on the lower 6. It causes help in leveling the curve of SPE. I do not put an attachment on the 6. I have 2 buttons at the back of the mouth, and I'm able to climb out of very, very deep bite cases, usually in the first set of aligners, without leaving myself a big posterior open bite, and I'm able to correct the class 2. In some cases, the class 2 is quite mild, but in this case here before us, we can see on the left side, the class 2 was about 5 millimeter class 2, and in one set of aligners, just about 1 year of treatment, the patient is now posteriorly class 1, and the overbite is corrected from 100% overbite to 20% overbite. And you'll notice there is no big posterior open bite in the case at this time. So these class 2 elastic setups for deep bites as a triangle to level the lower curve of SPE are very effective. I hope you'll join us to learn it. In open bite cases, we will not be using the same technique. Many of you are familiar with my selective posterior intrusion technique, where I intrude some posterior teeth, not all posterior teeth, and in a case like this, I'm intruding the lower 6. And as the lower 6 intrudes, it will help in closing the open bite. Now, to the same very tooth, I'm going to wear the elastics from the upper 3 to the lower 6 as a straight line, and we're still going to be producing our curve of SPE and still closing the open bite. So in open bite cases, the setup is very different. It's a straight line elastic. Now, the straight line elastic is not always to the 6. If the 7 is the tooth that's being intruded, and in some cases of selective posterior intrusion, we don't intrude the middle teeth, but we intrude the back teeth. So when it's the back tooth, the lower 7, that's being intruded, then I'm going to run the elastic straight to the lower 7. So I know it's anti-intuitive slightly to run the elastic only to the tooth that's being intruded, but that's because you need attachments on the other teeth to hold the aligners and cause the posterior intrusion. So it's a combination of techniques that we'll explain much more in the webinar. In class 3 cases, we're going to run our class 3 elastics, but once again, this is an open bite case, and because it's an open bite case, you can see at the beginning of the ClinCheck, the open bite that we are trying to solve, then we have to do intrusion of the upper 6. But even though we're intruding the upper 6 through the ClinCheck, we're going to be running the elastic to the upper 6. And in one set of 25 aligners, the patient is able to climb out of their open bite tendency and their class 3 tendency and get good occlusion. So once again, open bite and deep bite interarch elastics are set up differently. Another class 3 case where there's minimal overbite at the beginning of treatment and there's even more overbite at the end of treatment because we're using that combination of selective posterior intrusion and running the elastic to the upper 6, which is actually intruding in the ClinCheck. So I hope you can join me on July 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about all of these things in great detail and see these cases in much more detail so you can learn how to customize your interarch elastics for superior results. Do join us online. There's lots of time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. And whether you join us online or not, you can still register and later listen and learn from the webinar. Add it to your library of webinars that you'll always have for any time in the future. Thank you very much. I hope that you're enjoying our services from yourorthocoach.com, and I hope to see you either in my travels or online together. Thank you and have a great day.